Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1550. I am on 1550. Yay! Every single day, consecutive days since January 2nd, 2021. I started this because of a retired doctor named Duck Vuong, Vuong. He was doing a weight loss challenge, and some of us lost 28 pounds, and there was one man who lost way over 100 pounds. There were more than one person that that did that. Anyway, so my morsels of a thought are hopefully thoughts of wisdom that give you the idea of something good to do to inspire you to have a great day. I am going to read you a story on Mondays called The Dirt Merchants, a novel by Henning Morales, Highwayman edition, a novel, a coming of age adventure, a triumph, a true story. And we're on chapter 3. Black Dog. Spencer lay wide awake in his living room as 6:30 a.m. rolled around. Every few minutes he'd gotten up to look at the window, relieved, then anxious again when he saw no one was there. His body hadn't stopped shaking. He got up again to look out the window and noticed his mom coming down the stairs. "You're up early, honey," said Mrs. Corrales. "I didn't hear you come down the stairs." The stairs at the old house creaked on the fifth and sixth steps, and Mom slept very light. He didn't say a word. She kissed him on the cheek and for her coffee. She went back upstairs, put on her white nurse's outfit, white shoes, white stockings, and little white hat, and headed right out the door. She didn't notice that he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of winter. The heat didn't go on at 624 Maitland until 7 o'clock a.m. Spencer hopped into the shower, got dressed, and headed for school, feeling like a zombie. He jumped on the 21 bus on River Road and Maitland and rode to Route 4 to be dropped off at Teaneck High School. The crowd on the bus was a strange mix of Manhattan commuters, blue-collar worker bees heading for Englewood or Fort Lee, and Teaneck High School kids. Spencer never acknowledged the other kids on the bus, too cool for that. Their eyes were on him, though. That was the kid everyone was talking about. The other kids all heard the stories about the fights, the crazy behavior at school and around town on the weekends. To the tame Jewish kids that rode that bus, Spencer looked extra scary this morning. He was actually just scared. He got off at his stop with some other high school kids and walked toward the stairs that led to the highway toward the north entrance, the black door. Each entrance at Teaneck High School was dominated by packs of students before classes started each day and after school. Better put on my glasses because I washed them and they're clean and I can see through them. The black kids hung out at the black door, period. They had the most real estate. They were up to 100 kids, and they were out there every. There were up to 100 kids out there every. Excuse me. The black kids hung out at the black door, capital B, capital D, period. He said, period. They had the most real estate. They were up to 100 kids out there any given morning. Some of those kids were not even going to school. They were hoodlums from other towns or the city who hung out there, and once school started, would jump on a bus to New York or wherever. Most white kids walked past the black door as far as they could, as fast as they could before school with their heads down. It was intimidating, even for Spencer at the beginning of high school, not really knowing where he stood, but not for long. Spencer was as well known at the black door as he was at the white doors on the west and south sides of the school. Spencer's crew and their girls hung out at one of the white doors before school, after school, and between classes. There was mostly surprisingly mature conversation, looking on and posturing. The girls were the best looking in their class. The kids mostly stuck together. I do want to say, it's a lot like that in San Francisco. The kids get segregated somehow, and that's how we hung out. We just hung out differently with every, like, we would magnetically draw ourselves to, I would look for somebody else who was Chinese and try to talk to them. I was too scared to talk to anybody else. So maybe that's what it was, you know? The kids mostly stuck to, I mean, I did talk to everybody after that, but the kids mostly stuck together. Spencer was the only one that would venture around to the other doors, but mostly stayed put. They had only been at high school for 3 months and had already taken over a prime piece of real estate, though, through verbal abuse, some shoving by the guys, and dirty looks from the girls. Wow, real estate. The senior door, also on the west side, was where the cool white seniors and white jocks were stationed. Although exclusive, this door wasn't really intimidating and was less rough than the other two. The kids were more clean cut. There was no smoking or cursing going on. Last but not least, there was the druggy door on the school's south side. There were three requisites for the druggy door. First, you had to listen only to four bands exclusively: The Who, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and The Stones. I remember those. Never any disco or new wave. Second, you had to be some kind of delinquent. Third, you had to have longish, dirty hair and dress down. These kids really didn't care what color people were, it seemed, but they were all white. There was no student door on the east side of the building, adjacent to the teacher's parking lot. Only kids cool enough to intimidate could have a door. Most of the Jewish kids and the other less popular ones either met up in smaller cliques at other areas around the grounds or just went right to homeroom as soon as they got to school. They entered the school through the main entrance, usually not risking the taunting of the cool kids at their respective doors. This virtual segregation of black and white at school seemed very normal for the kids of Teaneck. It wasn't the result the school board anticipated when, in 1965, Teaneck was the first district in the nation with a white majority to implement a voluntary school integration program. Even though the schools were integrated, black hung with black, white hung with white for the most part. Despite the voluntary segregation, racial tension was surprisingly light as long as everyone followed protocol. Spencer acquired a unique perspective with respect to the racial segregation in Teaneck and cliques hanging around each door. First, he figured early on that he had to choose white or black. There was no in between. There were a few Hispanics, Asians, or Middle Easterners, and those kids were outcasts anyway. He remembered when the few Latino kids in school tried to grab a corner of the main staircase entrance as their own. He could see them from his door out of the corner of his eye. It was embarrassing to him the way they talked, with that street accent, the way they dressed. Gaudy. The girls wore thick red lipstick and plucked their eyebrows. The boys wore Denny Terrio, blow-dried haircuts, and open button-down shirts with gold chains. It skeeved him to no end. Skeeved. Skeeved. I'm skeeved. I remember that. That's not me. I'm mostly Italian anyway. I grew up with white people, and my mom is white. I speak English. I have my hands full with the whites and now the blacks. I'm not even going to talk to those clowns. We have the prettiest girls anyway. That's what he's thinking. Nope. he had to choose, and he chose white. But one of the things that made Spencer more and more popular was his bending the rules and spending time all over the school, even at the black door. The more trouble he would get into, the more time he would be spending at the druggy door. Good morning. Oh, give the stream a link to join the live stream. I see. I don't know how to do that. He even began to get respectful looks and nods from the senior door ever since the incident with Devero. Spencer also quickly also, Spencer also learned quickly that in order to be popular, he needed to be able to interact with different types of kids. Spencer's definition of being popular didn't fit with the more common meaning of high school popularity, where a kid is nice to lots of people, so lots of people will like the kid. Spencer mainly wanted people talking about him. He just wanted attention. It wasn't that he was mean to any of the other kids on purpose, but he didn't go out of his way to be nice. He would just do things like get into fights or raise hell in the classroom and then just let people talk about it. Spencer never picked fights. He only fought when he felt that someone older or bigger disrespected him in any way. Fighting accomplished two goals. First, he showed that he wasn't intimidated and definitely fearless. Second, at fights, kids gathered around and everyone talked about it the next day. Fights were limited to wrestling and punches. He never thought about getting hurt or things escalating to more dangerous levels. He knew whatever pain or injury inflicted on him would be temporary, but his legend would continue to grow. Outwitting a teacher in class was always enjoyable to him. He felt he had a gift with words and could embarrass the teacher with wisecrack remarks or jokes. This was a way to get the girls to laugh and again show his courage. He risked being sent to Vice Principal Delaney's office, but had developed a talent for smiling real big, charming, and sweet talking his way out of real trouble. He also could tell when the teacher had enough and would back off, usually in time. If he did get kicked out of class and sent to Delaney's office, it just meant taking a note home to his mom, which she would never see, and bringing it back to the office, quote, signed by his mom, end quote, with a work phone number. Since she worked at three different hospitals for weeks at a time, Holy Name Hospital, Englewood Medical Center, and Hackensack General Hospital, Spencer would provide the number at the one where he knew she wouldn't be working for a while. His goal was for everyone in school to know his name. He craved attention and respect, but never showed it. In sports, he could accomplish that goal with no ill side effects. Without sports, he would find another way, regularly making his sounds at the different doors just to show his face. Oh. Regularly making his rounds at the different doors just to show his face, say a few words to the kids hanging around, not only proved that he wasn't intimidated, it also got them talking. I want to say I have never been that kind of cool kid, but I I feel the school grounds in my past when I read this. I feel that air of different segregation in different spots. You walk by a different spot and there is a different group of kids, and every group is is pocketed into if you look at their facial features, they're all the more similar ones are grouped together. So blacks with blacks, whites with whites, that's what he's saying. And then the Asians and outcasts are Asians and outcasts. And the Jewish kids being milder and walking to homeroom. It just sounds so much like my school. I'm feeling like I'm back in school and happy about it, you know? It's interesting. As Spencer walked up the stairs, he felt a twinge of pain in his knee and back. He got to the top stairs, shook off the pain, turned right, and headed toward the school. There were 70 or 80 black kids congregated, standing around the black door, talking mostly. Two sets of double Dutch jump ropes competitions were also underway. He made his way through the mob looking for Brandon. No sign. He looked up and nodded at some friends. No words or smiles. No sign of Ronnie or Loretta either. He saw Dexter, a friend from baseball, and walked up to him and his friends. Yo, Corrales. Dexter shook Spencer's hand. These are my boys. You know Corrales, right? He's all right. Spencer nodded to the others whom he'd seen around but didn't know. They all smiled and greeted. What's wrong, man? You look like the living dead, like some kind of zombie. Dexter laughed and so did the others. Spencer cracked a brief smile. You seen Brandon or Ronnie? Asked Spencer. "Nah, man," replied Dexter. "If you see Brandon, tell him I'm looking for him." Spencer's face was dead serious. "I will, man. Yo, chill out, man. I'll tell him to find you. You okay, man? Yo, Corrales, you know of Oviedo? There's a party over at his place this Friday. Real rap. A real MC. Come on over," Dexter said, bopping and smiling. "I'll be there. I'll see you guys later. Remember about Brandon. He knows where I'll be." Spencer walked away toward the main entrance. He had gotten an early start on the day to make sure he got to Brandon to see what had happened the night before. He found his crew walking over from the hot dog truck parked alongside the north side of the school. It didn't seem out of place to the students, parents, or faculty that kids were eating hot dogs with relish and mustard and Welch's grape soda at 8 in the morning at a public school. The boys were a band of the Jimmy Burton, Joe Dunbar, Eric Goldman. Oh, excuse me. The boys were a band of six: Jimmy Burton, Joe Dunbar, Eric Goldman, Anthony Angelino, and Adam Reitman. They were all too cool for school. They did everything together, and there were no outsiders allowed. The stuff that Spencer did with Brandon was kind of on the side. Although they all liked Brandon, Brandon didn't hang out. Jimmy, with his big body and short black hair, was the tough guy. Joe was, with his boyish charm and all-American looks and long blonde hair, was the comedian. Eric, with his sleepy eyes, blow-dried light brown hair, and Brando act, was the best looking. Adam, with his acting background and habit of running away from home, was the most charming, and at times the most ruthless. Anthony, with his timid personality and slight physique, was the only one with parents strict enough to force him to study, and the only one with sense enough to listen to his parents at all. They were mostly good kids, all of them smart, all of them good looking kids from good families, all of them small time troublemakers, all of them popular. Spencer was evolving as the leader little by little. As soon as they saw him, they started laughing. He just looked so different, so tired and angry. Joe started. "What happened to you? You delinquent? You look like you've been up all night with a hooker who just took all your money out of your pants." They all laughed, even Spencer, for a second. Anthony was second. "Really, man, what happened? You look like a zombie or something." "Give me a bite of that dog and I'll tell you all about it," said Spencer. "You boys ain't gonna believe this." They followed Spencer slowly to their door. Joe and Adam shared a glance, rattled. The others were eating. All were in disbelief. As they approached the tables and chairs outside their door, the girls started listening in. All of the girls in the clique were thin, attractive, and popular, the best in the 10th grade. Although they bickered and gossiped amongst themselves, as high school girls do, they managed to stick together with the boys as one solid crew, with the excommunication of one or another at any given time. It also seemed totally normal that the girls and guys fooled around with each other at different times during high school. Judy was petite and perky, with black curly hair, and had a cranky side. She was first with Anthony, then with Adam, which pissed off Anthony, then was with Spencer later on. By then, Anthony was over her. Lori, blonde hair and blue eyes, was more voluptuous. She was first with Adam, then Spencer, then with Anthony. Nancy, with bright blonde hair and striking bright, blue, big light blue eyes, was the plainest, but had the best body. She hardly ever said a word. She was only with Spencer. Nancy was always there for Spencer, even though he was all over the map. Although Jimmy liked Nancy, maybe even loved her, they were never together. Some lunatic from Riverview Avenue flirted with her at a pool party, and Spencer attacked him with one of those poles used to skim leaves out of the pool. Spencer and the boy wound up in the pool, nearly drowning each other. The pool pretty the pool party attendees laughed hysterically as the two fighters were being dragged out of the pool by Jimmy and Adam. Needless to say, he was overprotective of Nancy, but he really did it for the attention. Lauren, another blonde but with brown eyes, was probably the prettiest, but also the wickedest. She was glommed onto Eric mostly and had a short stint with an out-of-town guy. Kathy had long black hair, very pretty with almost Asian eyes, a Jewish princess. She was too good for everyone. She was with Joe first, then Spencer. Suzanne was darker in complexion with brown hair and brown eyes with the best personality. She was the leader of her little pack. She was the only girl in high school who broke Spencer's heart by leaving him for Joe. When that happened, Spencer knew that friendship had to come first, so let it go. By the time Spencer got halfway through the insane story of the previous night, the whole crew had arrived and were bewildered. These were troublemakers, but never in big trouble. Plus, they all knew two things. Spencer's parents had never known about the trouble he'd gotten into, and Spencer's behavior was getting progressively worse week by week. They were a right group who knew each other well. By the end of the story, the first bell had rung. 15 minutes to get to homeroom. Spencer caught someone in the corner of his eye walking toward his crew. It was Brandon. Spencer ran towards Brandon, and everyone followed. So I'm going to read the rest of that next time. Yes, that's a suspenseful spot to stop at. And I think that we're going to have some fun with this book. This is a cool book. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Tomorrow, we are with The Rules, Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider. And we are going to talk about women dating men tomorrow. And it kind of ended on that in this book for the time being. So I will talk to you again tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. I hope you've got some kind of wisdom out of this, knowing what pitfalls to avoid and what little things you can do to make the world a smidgen better today than it was before. Okay? Oh, Kinder hug. Bye bye.